Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Nishmas Mordechai. Welcome to all the guests. What's your name, Tzaddik? Gary going from? Hugh Garden Hills. Shalom Aleichem. I see you have the cap, the whole thing. When did you start with us? Psachim. What is that, 2 years ago? Wow. You're, who else? Well, who's that guy next to you? Okay. Don't tell me, oh, you've been here yesterday, the day before, and I said Shalom Aleichem to you. No, I just like to make it look as if we have guys in the back. I don't, if you don't want to say your names, you don't have to say, what's your name? What? Tenenbaum? First name? Yossi Tenenbaum. Shalom Aleichem. You don't have to focus on him like that. Oh, Yishkoyach. And the guy next to you probably doesn't want to say his name. If he does, okay. Health God. Bemis? Related to the health God? No, not the Chazan, the one that just lost his kid. Okay, what's your name? Avowitz? Shalom Aleichem. Where are you guys from? From New York? Boropar. Shkoyach. And Rabbi Polter, what's your first name? Fall from Boston. Shkoyach. The mama is from Boston originally. Okay, I have a very nice email here. For me, it was nice. You guys hate to hear these things. Thank you for changing my life. As many times you read in emails, you tell me them saying, thank you for changing my life, and my life is finally changed. I joined the MDY Rosh Hashanah. I got over 20 people to join and listen. I can't imagine how much preparation goes into delivering. I wasn't a real Yomi Talmud, although most days, yes. But guess what? Along came Yevamis. Oh boy, it threw me off track with all Rebbe's pep. Yevamis, I thought, let's do it. I couldn't get other people to join. He faded out. Want to talk about life change, becoming a better person? Sometimes you need a little patience. Can't always expect to change on the first day that you start the daf. Can't always expect people to join the daf just from one status. When the Darim started, I decided to listen to Rebbe. I guess that's me. Not just doing Yomi, the daf, but put some business aside and spend more time learning Torah. As you mentioned in Shir about the man in the midbar that you don't lose from learning Torah. Besides listening, Daf Yomi I usually learning a bit by 4 a.m, catching up. I probably tell people I learn with Rabbi Stefansky every day, then ask how doesn't he live in Ramat Bet Shemesh? I have to explain to them the video. Okay. So when I say thank you, Rabbi, changing my life, I mean it with all my heart. No, I don't make more money since I started learning Yomi yet, but the pressure of making a decent parnasa faded away. Oh, you hear this? That pressure of making more money faded away. Getting up in the morning is no daily battle anymore. I now have more quality time in my marriage. I somehow have more time for my family, even though I'm spending more time than in shul. As Rebbe spoke, or as you spoke about Netflix, I got rid of that too. How can you be a real... Rabbi said the Super Bowl was last night. Nobody knows about it. Nobody cares. Who won? You don't even know what it is.
Kansas City.
You don't know what you're talking about. Shnayim Mikra, I never completed a full cycle. Now I'm doing it. There's so much more meaning to my daily life. I can't even express my gratitude. Rabbi said we should read this email again. Let me start from the beginning. Made a hefsek here. As Rebbe said, sorry. Obviously, my wife is backing me, supporting me. It's kula shalah. May we all taste the sweetness of Hashem's Torah. Hashem should give you the strength and success to continue in good health and wealth. Have nachas from all your kids and Talmidim. I can't wait to meet up along with Mashiach B'Kar Mamish. Since there are no anonymous in our MDY family, from Rebbe's Talmud, Aaron Shalom Herbs, since Rosh Hashanah Daf Beis. Beautiful email. I love it. Racham Epstein says, thanks for the mention and share today. Kitzer, he's listening. Or unless somebody told him. Baruch Hashem, we had a baby girl. And I'm taking care of the kids and getting them to school from 6:45 to 8:40 every morning, so I can't attend. B'ezrat Hashem, as soon as my wife is feeling ready to resume her post, I look forward to being in Shir, B'li Neder Racham Epstein. Here's from Howard Appel from West Hempstead. Thank you for teaching Daf Yomi. Every day I look forward to learning with you on my train commute to New York City. I started in November 2021 with Mesechtes Tainus and haven't missed a day of learning thanks to you. During Yeshiva week, I took a kosher cruise to Miami, to Mexico, and to Honduras, and made sure that I would have internet access, that I wouldn't miss a day. In the attached picture, I'm in Honduras, learning the daf with macaw birds. They were very attentive to the share. Here he is. What do you mean how? They're very, very gishmak. As parrots have the ability to mimic human speech, I tried to teach them to say good morning, Rabboisai, to no avail. May Hashem grant you the strength to continue teaching Daf in many years to come. Rabboisai, I was inspired by a good friend of mine, Yochi Shore. This I thought was mamish, to me it was Ashgacha Pratis. On Shabbos, I thought about a story that happened to me, a chapsim story. I think I might have said it a long time ago, and I said, you know what? Let me somehow stick it into the Gemara, explain to the Eilim what chapsim is if you don't know what it is. All of a sudden I get this email this morning, I'll explain to you exactly what it is. I was a big fan of yours. I did start Masechtas Nazir and really feel a sipuk like never before. I feel like I'm a real kavei itim every day. It wasn't the case before. Anyway, on Monday afternoon, I was going to leave my house on an errand and then remember that I didn't do the daf. He was about to leave his house. He decided not to leave his house. So I sat down where I always do the daf. Here he is in the picture by the dining room window overlooking my downstairs door to outside. In the middle of the Lord, I hear smash, boom, zets. I looked quickly out the window to see two youngsters breaking into my home. I quickly ran down the steps again against them, screaming, chapsim. Chapsim means in Yiddish, catch them. And it's a code in Borough Park, in flat. Especially, you say chapsim, everybody comes flying out of the house and they can start chasing. They don't know who, they chase. So my Maaser was, it was right after Reb Shneir Kotler's Levaya, Zechron Levracha. I was with my father and my uncle. And we're walking in Borough Park right after the Levaya. And I don't know how we got there. Somehow we ended up in Borough Park. That's where we parked the car. And all of a sudden we hear chapsim. And we see like 30 Hasidim running after one not Chassid. And they're coming right towards us. And as they came towards us, my uncle stuck out his foot. And the guy went flying. And they jumped on him. And they gave him Makis Mardus. But all I remember is one Chassid with an umbrella. And he took the umbrella. And I'm not going to say exactly what he did to his eyes. And he said, Die sollst nicht umfangen mit kein Yid. Die sollst nicht umfangen mit kein Yid. And he gave him over. And then the police came and they took his lifeless body away somewhere. It was no him. Okay, so here he is. Two youngsters. I think today it's a little different maybe. Maybe they don't beat them up so bad because the police, I don't know. Baruch Hashem, I was able to chase them with the help of Shomrim. We caught them 3 blocks down and they were arrested by the cops. All in the schos of me doing the daf. And then there by the window and not pushing the daf off. Thank you so much for everything you do, doing the daf strong. Chaim Perlowitz, here he is, by his dining room table. And here's from the scoop, how they scooped up these guys and they arrested them. They look like they're able to stand, so the chapsim today is a little shvacha. You read this hadoros, let me tell you. And here, in case you didn't know what happened last night, I don't know. It's a certain
and Omi Torin from Los Angeles. We're here watching the Super Bowl. Good morning, Rabboisai.
Yeah, listen. So if these people were over this kind of thing, Lamaisa they were Mesiach Das and they thought about the daf in the middle. Now I'm giving them a limud schos. And this email I shouldn't be reading, but I'm going to read it anyways. From Yaakov Goldberg from Philadelphia. She goes, I'm shocked you mentioned about mikveh rain and you ridiculed the person who cut off the rabbi's beard. We find the Gemara, the Kanoim poigim by. Sometimes we need a Kanoim to cut off a beard to wake the oilam up. Rabbi El was asked many times not to bring this invention to Yerushalayim mikvahs, and he refused to listen to reason and explain his shita. Tells it's permitted. So Kanoim sent him a message he deserved. Would you make fun of Pinchas for killing Zimri? So I mean, it's a little different, just slightly different, because over here the Badatz, the Eid Charedis gave a hechsher to this device. And the Badatz is not a modernish hechsher. It's the most kanoish hechsher possible. And they gave, so you're smarter and better than the Badatz, and you decided you have to go cut somebody's beard off. Okay? Oh, they did? Says Gary, the hechsher came after. Okay? A limud schus on this guy, Nebuch. He needs a limud schus, because I would be very worried about. Also, I'm sure you don't know the fact about mikveh. This doesn't, I asked Tomer, but he didn't answer me. It turns water from CO2 to CO1. Not true. It doesn't sound true. Anyways, and then he goes, I don't have anything to do with this. I'm not pro or anti, just stating the facts. But let's be honest, changing the water to CO1 is a new invention, or Rav Yashua did not approve this. Even Rav Moshe Shterbuch Shlita that did say it's okay, No one told him the water changes to CO1. Now here's a guy that has nothing to do with it. He's not pro or anti, but he knows what they told Reb Moshe Sternbusch. And they know he knows that they didn't tell him. Okay, listen. So Lemaisa, tell your friend to find a different parnasa, maybe real estate. Let's not mess around with the serious topics. So stay away from mikveh rain. What?
If only I had an umbrella for this guy.
CO1 is carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is gas.
Yeah, it's CO1. It's carbon monoxide.
It's not any facts. It's not true what he's saying.
It's not true what he's saying. No, whatever. Today, all the mikvahs are carbon monoxide. With toivel and carbon monoxide. And that's a problem. He's right. It's a problem to be toivel and carbon. If you're toivel and carbon monoxide, I agree with him 100%. You should shave off everybody's beard. Says the sponsor for the coil is Anonymous from Lakewood. The second sponsor for the coil is supporting Torah strengthen our bitachon. The sponsor for the Masechta is Maaser. The second sponsor for the Masechta is Leilu Yosef. The sponsor of the month, and we have three of them, is by Shprintzy and Alan Gross, Nishmas, the yahrzeits of our father, Shalom ben Yitz Aiyzik, and ben Aiyzik ben Tzvi Yerusha. Second sponsor of the month, the MDY family, Nishmas, Borch Helfgad, Zechor Lebrach, ben ybl'c Mordechai Shlomo. Third sponsor is the Eli Nishmas Zechar ben Moshe. The sponsor of the week, two of them, Yossi Klein, Shalom Burch Yehuda, ben Yosef Ycheil Mechel. Please put on your status, join for Yiddi.com. Yiddi Leibowitz, such a good friend of our Mishpacha, and he was nifted at such a young age. Yitz Moshel, in honor of Rebelli. Ooh. The Baldman Brothers, Yosef Billyack, Gershon, Avi Gargir, Tomer, and all the others who make the shir happen, Yishkoyach Yitz. And Barak and Ilana Baver, also a good friend of mine from Chicago. Leilu Nishmas, Hindu Bas Meir, Miss Harriet Abramchik on her 10th yahrzeits. And by Tzali Fortgang. Leilu Nishmas Shalom Burch Yehuda ben Rav Yosef Ycheil Mechel, whose yahrzeits is today, and in honor of my two kids, Yumi and Zisha. You know Zisha, he comes with the hat. You know him. He goes to, huh? I threw a hat and he caught it? And he caught it. Who made us see him last night? He comes in from Yerushalayim all the time. Yeshiva guy comes in from Yerushalayim. But Mechel, how you doing? Mechel Harbader. Leilu Nishmas, my brother Yehuda Eliezer ben Moshe Yisrael Harbader on his yahrzeit. The Shom should have an aliyah. You never told me how it was the flight into Florida, Miami.
Went very well.
Uneventful. You flew all by yourself, or you had somebody else with you?
By myself.
By yourself. I'm jealous. The art sponsor for complete refuah for Chaim Tzvi Ben Leah Rabbi. Here we go. Today's Daf Chof Aleph. 20 Daf into Masechtas Nazir. We could just do the Gemara again, even though we did the last 6 lines. Very quickly. Yosef Rish Lakish Kamed Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya of Yosef Kamar. Rish Lakish sat in front of Rebbe's grandson, Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, and he said, when somebody says, I'm going to be a Nazir, and his friend says, Va'ani, and the next guy says, Va'ani, they're all Nazirim, says, it has to be Toich Kedei Dibur. So Rish Lakish says, Toich Kedei Dibur means, in a second we'll see, V'kama Toich Kedei Dibur, Kedei Shila Shalom, Shalom Alecha Rabbi. Shalom Alecha Rabbi is 3 words. In other words, 3 people could say Va'ani, Va'ani, Va'ani. Kedei Shalom Shalom Tamid L'Rav. We brought the Tosfos. The Rebbeinu Tam says it's literally because maybe a Rebbe will be there and he'll say hello to you. You have to answer back. Not all the Rishonim agree to that. They just say it's a shir of 3 words. Shalom Alecha Rabbi. Amalei, Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya wasn't happy with this. He said, Tuv, lo shavak d'ravcha l'talmida. By you giving only 3 words, so if in fact the Talmud has to say Shalom Alecha Rabbi right after his friend says Hareini Nazir, Reuven says Hareini Nazir. Shimon is about to say Va'ani, but he can't because his Rebbe, the Rebbe, his Rosh Hashiva is walking by and he wants to say hello to his Rosh Hashiva. So he has to pause and he says Shalom Alecha Rabbi, Va'ani. It's too late because he already said 3 words Shalom Alecha Rabbi. Says Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, give him 1 more word, give him another second to say Va'ani. Shalom Alecha Rabbi, Va'ani. That should be the shir, not Shalom Alecha Rabbi. Says the Gemara Daf Chof Aleph Amud Aleph. Tanya Nami Hachi. We went fast because we did it yesterday. Tanya Nami Hachi. Mi shamareni Nazir. So we bring a right through Shlakish that you only have 3 words. Shalom Alecha Rabbi. Mi shamareni Nazir v'shama chaver v'shak kedei diba v'ama v'ani. Let's see what we have here. Okay. So here you have a guy saying Hareini Nazir, right? You have the guy on the right, Rabbi Turjuman, Hareini Nazir. The guy says, Vani, Vani, Vani. I just threw in those 3 words. You see, Shalom Alecha Rebbe. It's the shir of Shalom Alecha Rebbe. That's good. Who also v'chaveri mutar. V'kama kedei dibur, kedei shila Shalom tam l'rab. So you could say Shalom Alecha Rebbe. Leilu sayele mi shomar Hareini Nazir v'shama chaveri v'ani v'sulai. So very interesting. We have to stick in a couple words here. What does it say in our Mishnah? In our Mishnah it says v'ani v'ani. In this picture you see v'ani v'ani v'ani, 3. In our Mishnah it only says 2. The Gemara brings a raya from the fact that it doesn't say 4. It's a raya not like Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, because Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya says it's 4 people could say v'ani. Shalom Alecha Rabbi v'ani. That's 4 people. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 words. So how come the Mishnah doesn't say 4? So let me ask you another question. How come the Mishnah doesn't say 3? The Mishnah only says 2. Says Tosfos, no. 2 is to tell me, I would think that if there's 2, it's not good. Why? Because there's a guy that's being mafsik. Rabbi Turjuman says Hareini Nazir. Comes the lit guy and he says Vani. So I would think that Avi Kamiansky, the 3rd guy from the right, he cannot say Vani. Why? Because there's a hefsek. Somebody broke it up here. The lit guy said Vani, so he ruined it for everybody else. Comes the Mishnah and says, no, the 2nd guy didn't ruin for anybody. You could add. How much could you add? Says Tosfos, everybody knows. Torch Kedei Dibur, 3. Everybody knows. Every kid knows Torch Kedei Dibur. Torch Kedei Dibur is 3 words. So the Mishnah doesn't have to say 3, says Tosfos. But if you're telling me that it's 4 words, that's a big chiddush. That the Mishnah should say. You hear what's going on here? Interesting. The Mishnah only says 2. And you're bringing me a raya from the fact that the Mishnah doesn't say 4. That's a raya against Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya. But wait a minute, Rish Lakish says 3. And the Mishnah doesn't say 3. Says Tosfos, the Mishnah doesn't have to say 3. That's Pasha. What the Mishnah wanted to say is 2. 2 has a big chiddush in it that there's no hefsek from this. Once I know 2, then I can go to 3. But I would know not to go past 3 because the shir is Toich Kedei Dibur. 3 words, Shalom Alecha Rabbi. But if you hold like Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya, that you could say 4 words, oh, that's a big chiddush. The kids in Cheder don't know that. Everybody knows Toich Kedei Dibur is the shir. Nobody knows more than Toich Kedei Dibur, 1 more word more. So that the Mishnah should say Mefurish. You see that you are wrong, Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya. Not 2, okay, very good. Besulai. Says Gemara, Tana, Kiroichla, Lechshav, Elezel. So what's interesting is if you look in the Rosh says the Gemara just changed its whole approach. Until now, take a look, we're looking that each one is grabbing onto Rabbi Turjuman. You see those hands? They're all he said Hareini Nazir. The first guy grabs onto Rabbi Turjuman, I want to be like him. The second guy grabs onto Rabbi Turjuman, I want to be like Rabbi Turjuman. Not like lit. And Dr. Factor, where's Dr. Factor now? Somewhere, he's always somewhere. Dr. Factor is not grabbing onto Avi Kamiansky. Dr. Factor is grabbing onto Rabbi Turjuman. Gemara now changes the approach. No, that's not what happened. We're going to go like this. Each one is grabbing onto the one in front of him. Oh, Rabbi Turjuman said, Vani. Says the next guy, Avi Kamiansky says, I want to be like Mr. Lit. And Dr. Factor says, I want to be like Avi Kamiansky. And I put in Shalom Alecha Rabbi. Each person has to do it within Shalom Alecha Rabbi of the guy right before him. Whoa, you can go on forever like that. You can have 100,000 people. As long as you're doing Shalom Alecha Rabbi, within a Shalom Alecha Rabbi, the next guy. Within a Shalom Alecha, the next guy. But if you're going, that the Gemara is going to explain in suit. But if you're all going on to Rabbi Turjuman, it's Shalom Alecha Rabbi from Turjuman. That's it. You have 2.5 seconds, whoever says Vani grabs it, and then it's all over. It's another nafkamin also here. Says the Gemara. So now the Gemara is saying, what, do you think the Tana is a peddler? Rav Nisim, Bolikan Shniya. I saw you yesterday, I didn't say anything. Come, can I say your story? Get over here. I want to stop the I want to tell you a Murray Maaser that happened with me and Rav Nisim. He's a witness to Maaser Shahaya that brought me here to Eretz Yisrael and brought him here to Eretz Yisrael. The Maaser is like this. I was a caterer in Chicago. Come. Just stand next to me. Don't sit over there. Come. I was a caterer in Chicago, and I decided I want to try to buy. Don't sit. What are you sitting? Come. I'll stand next to you. Hey, come. You want to sit? Come. Sit over here. Say there. Oh, here you go. I got to do this quick because we're in the middle of a shir, but it's very important. It's a very important story. You're going to like the story.
I'm not that short.
And I hope it doesn't contradict it at the end like all my other mices. So, and if you do, we're just gonna edit it. Doesn't matter. So, I was a caterer and I wanted to buy 2,000 apartments in Indianapolis. It was 2005, and I went and I got all this money raised. I quit my catering job and I went from investor to investor, and I got all the money, Baruch Hashem. And 2 days before the closing, the bank called me up and said, "Listen, there's such a thing called a terrorist verification to make sure that all the money is clean. We need all the social securities of all your investors. Did you give it to us already?" I said, "Of course." Wait a minute, it's 2 days before. I'm not going to start getting investors today. I worked on this for months. Great. Okay, good. They're off the phone. All of a sudden, I get a phone call from somebody that invested with me. And the guy says, "Listen, Eli, I need all my money back." I said, "You can't get all your money back. I'm closing in 2 days. I need all my money back. Give me all my money back. Hashem will help you. Because it's tzaddik, whatever, Hashem will help me." So I had no brera. I gave him his money back, and I started crying. Pasha started crying, and I cried to Hashem. I said, "Hashem, I don't understand. I quit my job. I worked on this for 3.5 months, whatever, 4 months. A day before, 2 days before closing, you're gonna pull this out of my what's going on here? It's like it's not so nice. You don't want to do it, fine. You don't have all the money, but I have the money. Then pull it out as That was my conversation with Baruch Hu. A few minutes later, maybe an hour later, I get a phone call. Shalom, he barely speaks English. I hear that you have an investment. Yes. I was so not in the mood for an Israeli nachoich after everything. He's like, listen, what is it? So I tell him, it's not for you, it's this, it's not the greatest neighborhood. He says, "Tell me the address." I tell him the address. He says, "Oh, I'm on Google Earth. Oh, I see it has lakes and swimming pools and tennis courts." I said, yeah, but it's not mamish like you think. It's a little, he said, after the whole conversation, he says, "Listen, can I invest with you $400,000? Now that's the exact number that person pulled out. And then I realized, Yad Hashem. I said, "Yes, but only on condition that you wire me the money right now. I don't want to sound like a used car salesman, I told you. I don't know if you remember, but I'm closing in 2 days." He said, "No problem." He wired me the money within a couple of hours. That was Ashgacha Prata Shein Kamayu, and I gave him huge returns. I'm not giving mizgah, but he was able to pick himself up and move to Eretz Yisrael based on those returns you told me. Yes? Mashu kazeh?
It's on the planning of the...
The planning. Okay, planning. Maaser shoya, kachaya Maaser. Good. Go back to your seat before you start contradicting me. Yishkoyach, thank you for coming. Now we got to go learn Torah. He's a Mekubal today, and this, he gives shiurim and Kabbalah. Okay, next. I have no idea where I was. Where was I? Woo! What? Oh, says the Gemara, what do you think? He's a peddler. A peddler screams out, "I have hot potatoes, who wants hot potato?" You hear these guys, they chazer over. Water, who wants water? What the Tana is going to keep on saying the same exact word over and over? Like this guy, he was in Beis Mishugayim. They said whoever writes a nice book gets freed from Beis Mishugayim. So this guy wrote Shtusim, they threw it out. This guy wrote, finally, they said, "Oh, we have a book, Mamash, a Gishmak, a book." It says in the book, there was a prince, and he got on his horse. He said, "Oh, it's Gishmak, a story." The guy, he flips to the back, he says, "Oh, and the prince came to the city, and then everything is good." And then one guy said, wait a minute, but what does it say in the middle? Oh, let's check the middle. And he saw in the middle, it says, giddy up. There's like 80 pages, it said the same thing. And he chapped, okay, Tana Kirachel. Well, you think the Tan's going to repeat the same word? Va'ani, 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 va'ani. Okay, we got the idea. It's two va'anis in Shalom Yisrael. Says the Gemara. Oh, if we're talking about, go back to this chart, please. If we're talking about that each one is grabbing onto the other, so all you need to say is one case. Va'ani. Over here, you don't even have Tosfos's pshat that there's a hefsek and there's no hefsek. I'm dependent on Turjuman, and Avi's dependent on Lit, and then each guy is dependent on the guy in front of him. So all you need to do is say one Vani. One Vani works, so two Vanis work. 5 Vanis work. 100 Vanis work. Says Gemara, you're right. Because of the Seif, it says that if, I'll just show you real quickly. Check out. Look at this thing. If Rabbi Turjuman goes to the Bezdin, I put a little Bezdin in there. I didn't do this. This is basically Yoshi, but I added some stuff. And he gets a heter from them. Look what happens. He got the heter. Now they all fall away. Why? Because they're all attached to Rabbi Turjuman. So once Rabbi Turjuman gets his heter, they go flying. Now, look at this case. Hutar Achron went too fast. Look, this is a Hutar Rishon. Now this is Hutar Achron. If Dr. Factor gets a heter from the Bezdin, and he's the only one that gets the heter, he's the last guy in the line. But everybody before him is grabbing onto Turjuman. And Memela, they remain in Nazirus. But it says Kulon. What's Kulon? There's a Rishon and there's a Achron. That's enough. What's Kulon? Kulon means there's more than a Rishon and Achron. There's 3 total. Oh. And Memela, everything needs to add up to the same. That's why in each case, we have 3. You could have gotten away with 2. Hareni Nazir Va'ani. And I would get it that each one is holding on to the other, so it goes on forever. But because one case in the Mishnah has 3, so all the cases have 3. We see this all the time. It has to be the same style in order to remember it easier, whatever. Hutar achron, achron mutar v'kulan asurim, michlal de'ikim tzai. You see that there's a third one. Umishum hachiktani v'ani v'ani. And therefore, the other case also says v'ani twice, 3 people. Iboilu. Ask the Gemara a question. Is it, we basically did the question. Chad v'chavei mitzvahs is like this case. That each one is dependent on the one right before him, and just be Torkei Dibur of the guy before you, or Dilma Bekama Mitzvah, or perhaps no, it's not like this, but it's like this. Sorry. This, I don't want to press that yet. Okay, you know what Kama is. Kama is they're all grabbing onto the Turjuman. Lamai Nafkemina. Latfusi Mezel. Nafkemina is, could you keep on going forever here? In this picture you see, many people, you just keep on going vani, vani, vani forever. If each one is grabbing onto the one right before him, mitzvahsin v'azlan lo'olam, you could go on forever. However, if it is, he did a little thing here. You could put volume on. This is a copycat. This is the cats imitating each other. Fine. Oh, no. Oh, time out. No volume. Here we go. Copycats. Okay. A little break. We already had our break. We don't need another break. Fine. His become a matfisa. They're all grabbing onto the first guy. Oh, says the Gemara. If they're all grabbing on, like in this case, to Rabbi Turjuman, they're all saying, I want to be like him. So that's it. You have Shalom Alecha Rabbi. Anything beyond that's only good for 3 people. Or 3 amiros, 3 vanis. But anything longer than that doesn't go. Says Gemara, what do we do? Now, if possible, this is a very, very easy Gemara. Look at 2, 4, 6, 8 lines from the bottom. Toshma. I just want to show you the style of the Gemara here. The Sanya Behedya. The Gemara has a brisa that answers our question Behedya Mefurish. Hutar Rishon, Hutar Kulon. Hutar Achroin. If the first one gets a heter from a Bezdin, everybody falls away. Hutter achron, if the last guy gets heter from a bezdin, ha'achron mutter v'kulon asur, and everybody in front of him is asur. Hutter emtzoi, it says mufurish. If the middle guy gets a heter, I'll show you later. I can show you right now if you want. Here, if the middle guy gets a heter, that's Avi Kamiansky. Look what happens. Everything beyond him falls away. Everything in front of him remains. It says mamish mefurish. Mutter matvis. You see the idea that each one grabs into the other shmamina. Because if it had all to do with Rabbi Turgeman, then nobody would fall. The only guy to fall would be Avi Kamiansky, but Dr. Factor and Aron and Noam, they're all grabbing onto Turgeman. Why would they fall away? You see from here that they're all grabbing onto each other. That's the end of the Gemara. Why am I doing this? I want to show you here. Typical Gemara. Toshma. As if we don't know that there's a Mefurish Braisa. And I'm pointing this out because you have to be very specific. If it doesn't say Mefurish, like the last Braisa we just saw, then you could be doichik and say, maybe it means this, maybe it means that. When you do any business with anybody, you have to write it down Mefurish. You don't write it down, and there's always issues. But maybe you meant this, maybe you meant that. Chofetz Chaim is very marked to write everything down. Doesn't matter. You're doing business with your shver, with your brother, with your sister. You write it down. You don't? Source later. And that's what you see over here. Toshma. We can fly through this. Very simple stuff. He said, he heard his friend say, and his friend said, Mi ami v'su loy midi, shma mino, b'kamu the matvasi. You see from here that they're all grabbing onto the first guy. This, listen to Vani. How come it doesn't say more Vanis? This is Gemara, like we said before. What? The Tana just keeps on saying the same word over and over. You get the idea. Could be 1,000 also. Not a good right. It's not Mefurish, not a good right. But listen, if so, just say one Vani. I did Diktani, Hutar Rishon, Hutar Kulon. Because it's not good stylistically. Hutar Achron, Achron, Mutar, V'Kulon Asurim, B'chlal Dikim, Tzoi. You see from here that we had this already. You see that this is a middle one, there's 3. Shumach Diktani Vani Vani, so it tells me a case of 3. Toshma, also from our Mishnah, Hutar Rishon, Hutar Kulon. If the first guy, Rabbi Turgeman, goes to the Bezdin and he gets a heter, then everybody falls to the wayside. Rishonu desharu ha'im tzari loy. But if the middle guy does it, it doesn't work. Shmamino bekama matvasin. From here you see that everybody's grabbing on to Rabbi Turgeman. Ei melach loylam chad v'chavrei mitzvahs. Everybody, maybe I'll tell you that everybody is holding on to their friend. Va'idi de boy. Misna, I was just thinking that there's a famous Maaser in the war. There was the Nazis in Machshamam. They told the Yidden dig a big pit, and whoever could jump over the pit was saved. The Bluzhever Rebbe. Very good. The Maaser of the Bluzhever Rebbe. And whoever fell. Bluzhever Rebbe, probably elderly a little bit. He wasn't. And he had the chassid with him. And they apikoiris. And they both jumped and they made it. So the Bluzhever looked at him and said, how did you do it? Bishloim and me, I'm holding on to my forefathers' convoys. I was able to make it. But what about you? He said, I'm holding on to you. I was holding on to your rekel. Oh, chavrei. We're all holding to each other. Huda Rishon Nutru Kulon. Rishon Uda Sharu Hayim Tzari Loi. Shma Mena Bekame Matvisin. Says the Gemara, no. I'll tell you, we're all holding on to each other. But I want to tell you at the end that they're all mutter. If I said middle, so there's the first one that's not mutter. Okay, again, it's just a question of l'shonis. I can be doichik this way. I don't have a good raya yet. Tashma, hutar achroin. Again in the Mishnah, it says if the last guy went to the Bezdin, and it only works for the last guy, not for everybody. Because nobody behind him. But if there's the middle, what if the middle guy went to Bezdin? Mystery. You see that if there's a middle guy, he could go to the Bezdin and everybody after him goes off to the wayside. Why? Because they're all holding on to him. They're not holding on to the first guy. Says Gemara, Leilu may malach become a mitzvah. No, it's not a raya. They're all holding on to the first guy, my achron diktani. What does the achron mean? Emtsoi. In the Torah also, it says mefurish by Leah that Yaakov Avinu put her in the middle, and then it says he took Rachel and put her in the middle. So you see that you could use the word middle as the next one, whatever. Okay, it's not 100%. Again, you want to bring a stark raya? I could push. Yeah, it's not so gishmak, but I could get out. I could wiggle my way out of it. I didn't mean it in mamish like that. And now finally we have Toshma. Right, on a rishon, on achron. Fine. The reason why it says achron instead of emtsoi because it flows well with the lashon. Toshma, the sanya behedya. Now here we can't get out of it. Over here it says mamish mefurish b'rochel b'tchaktana. Hutar rishon utrukulan. If the first guy goes to Bezdin, everybody in line is no longer a Nazir. Hutar achroim, but if the last guy in the line goes to Bezdin, achroim hutar b'kulan asurin, everybody in front of him is asur. Now what about hutar emtsoi? Hutar emtsoi is what's going to bring a raya for us. Why? Because if the middle guy has an effect on anybody else besides himself, it's a raya that they're not grabbing onto the first guy, it's a raya that they're all grabbing onto each other. Because if they were grabbing onto the first guy, whatever the middle guy does has no effect on anyone. They're not holding on to him. Nobody's holding on to him. They're holding on to Rabbi Turjuman. It's a raya that because if the middle guy does something, he gets a heter, and he's no longer a Nazir, and everybody after him is no longer a Nazir, it's a raya that the mitzvahs chad b'chavrei. Shmamino chad b'chavrei mitzvahs shmamino is a beautiful raya. Says the Gemara, Hareini Nazir v'shama chavrei v'amar piki sorry. A person says, I want my mouth to be like his mouth. My hair should be like his hair. Says the Gemara, Mishum Dama Pikifiv, Usari Kisaroi, Hare Nazir. Bemis, I gotta stop here for a second. I did not ask Reb Nisim Kakun to come here. And we live here together for many years. Since I moved there, he's here before me. So he's here for 9 years. First time, he came yesterday for minute, I saw him and then he left. But for it's a Mina Shamayim that he's here to say this Maaser. Viriminu. Sponsors. L'chvay Yeshivas Nomat Torah, Yerushalayim Barav, David Amin Shlito, who always encourage us to finish Shas. Latzloch of the Magichir, the members of the HBA group and their families. Amen. Viriminu. Why is it if a person says my mouth should be like his mouth, that he's a Nazir, Yodin Nazira, Viragli Nazira, my hand, my foot should be in a zero. L'yoma klum, it's nothing. But if a person says Roishi Nazira, Kavedi Nazira, if a person says that my head should be a Nazir or my liver should be a Nazir, Harez a Nazir. Why? Zaklal. If you take away the guy's head, he dies, Harez a Nazir. But now listen to this, I just have to show this to you real quickly. Where's this? I put it in the wrong place. Sorry. Here. You guys see this? This is a chicken without a head. And I don't know if it's a true story, but Google it. 70 years ago, a farmer beheaded a chicken in Colorado. It survived for 18 months. And it only died because it choked on its food. I don't know what shot is. It might be a joke. It might be a scam. 70 years ago. It never happened since then. But look it up. It's a famous Maaser. I remembered hearing it and I looked it up. Some things can live without head. Some of us are without heads. Whatever. Kids are. But it's a davar shana shamat luyi bay. Harei ze nazir. Omer Avi Yehuda. So what's the Gemara's kasha? A person says, my lips, you could chop somebody's lips off. It won't be very good, but he'll live. Same thing here. You chop off a person's hair, he's not going to die. If it's not a davar shana shamat luyi bay, why in the world is he a nazir? And we know the answer because we said it in the Mishnah as pshat. Omer Avi Yehuda Omer Hachi. Because the pshat is Yosef Pikifiv miyayin usari kisari milagois. This is shayla in the Rishonim if you have to say the word yayin. Could be the pshat is when I say mouth, what I mean is the mouth that drinks wine. That's the mouth I want to be a nazir like. That's why it's not it's not a head. This has everything to do with nazirus. That kid Jacob's over there. I don't know his first name. Asked me yesterday. So why doesn't it say also in the Mishnah? Going to the Beis HaKvaros. It says wine and lagos. I said, Ein Chanami. And he's right. I saw Taisus. Taisus says, when you say Yadi, It's, what's your first name? Osher? Very nice. Big Talmud Chacham. So, when a person says Yadi or Ragli, he means the foot that walks into the Beis HaKvaros. Okay, fine. If a person says, a woman says, I'm in a zero. Hold on a second. Here we go. Here's a couple, Rabbi and Mrs. Lit. Here they are. And she says, I want to be in a zero. And he, I don't know if you noticed, but his hair grew a little longer here in the second picture. Once he says Vani, what is the husband doing? Is he only saying that she's not in a zero from this point on, Megas guys, or Me'eka Okar, he's saying that he's uprooting her Nazirus from the beginning. Here you see it in a thing. Let's see the Nafkimino. Lamai Nafkimino, Liisha Shenodra bin Nazir, like over here. In step 1, she said, I'm in a zero. Vishama Chaverta, and her friend heard it, Vamra Vani. Step 2, Vani. Vishama Balo Shal Rishoino, Veheverla, and the third guy, the guy that's married to the Nazira, said, no way, you're not in a zero. If you go retroactively all the way to the beginning, then the friend is no longer in a zero. Why? Because the woman in pink in the middle was never in a zero. Retroactively, it was uprooted. She was never in a zero. So the ninja lady, what do we call her? The Barca lady. Maybe I'm going to get an email now.
Moments later.
Erase that. Fine. So, if it's Okar from to begin with, then the Burka lady is not in a zero. But if it's just from this point on, from whenever the husband decided or heard he was made for her, then the friend remains in a zero. Here you go. Baal Mega's guy is, if he knocks just her off, then the friend remains. But if he knocks the entire thing off, both of them are not Nazirim anymore. Shalom Yisrael. She herself remains, not remains, but becomes mutter, not a Nazir. Chaverta Asira, and her friend remains Aser. My Toshma we had in our Mishnah. Harei Nazir Shalom Balav Vani. The woman says, I want to be Nazira, and her husband said, I want to be like you. Ein yochel offer, he can't be mefer. By the way, let me ask you a question. What happens if a woman, it's already 8:02, a woman is in a zero, and they warn her, don't drink wine, you're in a zero, and she drinks wine. She's chayiv malchus. And then her husband says, you're not in a zero anymore. So, if you say Mega's guy is, she'll get Malchus. Because Malchus, she's chayiv, then her husband was Mefer. The husband is only Mefer from Tuesday on, not Monday when she drank the wine. But if you say Me'ekar Okar, so he removes her completely, she was never in Nazir, she's not chayiv Malchus. It's a beautiful nafkamina, how come the Gemara doesn't say it? Anybody have an answer? Taisus asked the kasha. Okay, next. Toshma. Harei Nazir Shalom Bala V'omavani. Guy is, if the pshat is that the husband removes it from here on out, why can he not remain a Nazir like that Burka lady remains in a zero? The pshat is that the husband removed it from beginning. And what's the problem with that? As we said yesterday, you cannot remove yourself. There's no way that you could become a Nazir and undo your own Nazirus by a trick, by getting your wife out of it. Says Gemara, Loy Mega's guy is, the pshat is, it's from here on out. Ubedinu, the Leifer law. And really, he should be able to be made for his wife. How come he can't do Afara? Since he said the word Vani, and that's the pshat, the guy that was sitting, I forgot his name, with the mask. That's what he said yesterday. No, not the pshat that I'm over on layachal devar like we learned yesterday. The pshat is when a person says Vani, That means he's been mekayim his wife's neder. As the Gemara, if he goes to the Rav and says, Rabbi, I'm not happy with the fact I was making the neder, the Rav could undo it. I just want to show you this real quickly. Here. In the Darm of Samachtas, we said that you could go to the Rav and undo your kiyum of your wife, but you cannot do your hafara to your wife. Just want to remind the Olam, in case you had a shaila about that, because I remember, as soon as I read it, wait a minute, didn't we say you can't go to the Rav for that? Yeah, you can't go to the Rav for a hafara, but you could go for a kama. Tashma. So here, if a person finishes Naziros, you bring a keves la'ila, kifsa lachatos, and a ayil shlamim. The ones on the bottom are not for today. Just not to confuse with what we learned, that if a person becomes a Nazir, a tameh, in the middle of his Naziros, he brings 3 different korbanos. But this is at the end of the Naziros. She's about to finish her Naziros. She didn't become tameya. She wants to, so she put aside korbanos. And then her husband said, no, wait. If she took from her husband's animals from the farm, the animal, what happens to the animal? Think about it. Her husband said you were never a Nazira, so you were never chayav a carbon. You never chayav a carbon, so the carbon is 0. It's not a carbon. You were never a Nazira to make a carbon. So what do you do with the carbon? Put it right back into the farm. Now, you have to understand, it's not her animal, it's her husband's animal. She has no right to take her husband's animal. Just what? Her husband's mechuyev to give her animals if she's chayav animals for the Beis HaMikdash. But now that we found out retroactively that she was never in a Nazira, boom, it goes back to the farm. If she had animals that her husband had no permission to touch, hachatas tamos, then only the middle one, the kifsa lachatas, dies. I forgot to put that chart in. Okay, we'll see it soon. If the pshat is that the husband undoes the Naziris all the way from the beginning, then the chatos was never a chatos. Let it go back to the farm. Maybe you see that the husband only could be made from here on out. Let's just do a few more lines. 2 more, whatever. Finish this. Is because of the Maaser that I said was from Nisman Kakun. In fact, the husband could go backwards retroactively and be mefer. Kivin, Yigaris here, I like to be Garis, at least for me, I understand it better. Taima, Kivin, the tzricha kapara, since she needs a kapara, havas kechadas shemesu b'aleh. Since this chatas comes, why? Because of bar kapara. It said that everybody that becomes a Nazir is a sinner. He's over an avera. So anyways, you have to bring a chatas. So Mamela, it becomes like a chatas that you designated, and now the person died. The woman died. What happens when a person designates a chatas and the owner that designated the chatas dies? There's nothing you can do. It's very, very inhumane. You have to take the animal, put it in a room, and let it die. You can't kill it, and you can't feed it. But that's what you have to do over here. Why? Because the owner, Kaviyachal, died. Because her husband was mefer, and she's chayiv that carbon. Why? Because she was over an avera tzricha kapara, and Mamela, that's why it dies. Rabbi have a wonderful day.